morning, Pastor John, and whoever else might be watching. So I'm just doing this a recording of my story, and a little bit of my testimony. Bit of a story of my life over the last couple of years. So I went to St. John's. I finished in 2009, and I then went and studied a BSc in property finance and investments at Wits, and I did my honours. And then straight out of varsity, I went and started working at Investec. I was there at Investec for a while, and then the entrepreneurial side of me kind of kicked in, and I got offered to go and work for a startup in Cape Town and live the life. And so after much thoughts, I ended up taking it, and I packed up everything I could get in my car, and I moved to Cape Town, and ended up living on a garage floor, and really a startup story, and helped build this company over about 4 years. And so I started pretty much, it was a very new company. I started pretty much at the bottom, and worked my way up into a managerial position as part of the Exco team. Ended up becoming a shareholder in the company, and things were all going really well for some time, or even if they weren't always going that well, it was very exciting, and the Cape Town life was a fun, a good life by worldly standards, I would say. I was playing beach volleyball a couple days a week, like a tan. I was hiking on the weekends. I was jollying. I had lots of mates, and it was just, it was fun. But after probably about 2 to 3 years into that, there was something else that started creeping up on me. And I wasn't able to really identify it at the time, but afterwards I can say it was definitely something to do with purpose and calling, and what am I doing with my time in Cape Town. My whole family was in Joburg, and I wasn't seeing much of them at all, and missing out on lots of family events and just quality time with the family. So while it was all good and fun, this adventure of living in Cape Town and trying to run a tech startup, I was running the sales team of the company, so it was really quite a challenge for someone like me who's very entrepreneurial. I enjoyed it. There was just something missing. There was just something really big that I was craving, and about that time, Pastor John, you actually spoke over our family. You spoke over Simon and I, I didn't know this at the time. I didn't know that you had actually spoken these words over the family. But around that time, I started having this sense of I need, what is my purpose, or having this pull towards my purpose, and it was just amazing how without knowing what you'd spoken over the family, I was experiencing this pull, and this pull towards my purpose, which is ultimately wealth creation for the church, for the kingdom of God. And so that started coming out in certain ways in the company. I started changing slight things about the way that I was doing things in the company, the way that I was working with certain people. And then when it did start coming out, when I did then become aware of those the words that you had spoken over my brother and I, then it started falling into place, and started becoming more clear. So there was quite a period where I was, I guess, exploring that, and it wasn't clear at the beginning either what that purpose was. I just knew that I wanted to make money. I knew that I needed to create wealth for other people. But as I started re-engaging with the family, about the things of God, and started putting God first in my life again, that purpose and that clarity started to get better, and I started to know more and more what that purpose was. And I would say, so probably about midway last year, midway of 2018, I started engaging with the message, with Pastor John's message over YouTube. I started watching his prayers of consecration, and I would say that's where I really started connecting with Pastor John, having actually never met him. Hadn't actually met you yet, Pastor John. And I started to connect with you, and you were starting to become that spiritual father that you are today. And as that connection grew stronger and stronger, I found myself being in Joburg more and more, attending more of the actual church services, and obviously I ended up meeting you and spending more and more time with you. And then really that purpose and that calling that I was feeling really became very clear, and was added to as well, in that it became clear that you, as my spiritual father, Pastor John, I'm called to you, I'm on assignment with you, and there was just none of that. I had none of that in Cape Town. It was a fun life that I was living down there, fun by worldly standards, but it was really quite meaningless and purposeless. And so yeah, things started shifting down there. God started working in really amazing ways. I had some chats with Simon and Terry, my brother and sister-in-law, and they were really instrumental in many of the conversations. They were very instrumental in guiding me and leading me to the point where I am now, and certainly seeing them as the couple that they are, and the role models that they are from a godly couple who are able to set an example. I wanted that, and there was nothing like that in Cape Town, because there was no one else in Cape Town that I knew that was putting God first like that. That I was I guess that I was attracted to, and or that was could be that person for me. And so, I mean, there were people there were one or two people that I knew, and that I guess they were Christians, but they weren't in the same flow. They weren't connected to you, Pastor John, like Simon and Taryn are. And it's just seeing how that works, seeing how that flow works, and the amazing things that can happen when a couple are united in God and are connected to a spiritual leader like you. It was really cool, and I wanted that. So that was also one of the things that then led me to ultimately make the choice, make the jump back up to Joburg. There was that, as well as family was a big, family in general was a big thing. My sister had just become pregnant at the beginning of last year, and when I found that out, that was also a big factor in me deciding to move. And I just wanted to be closer to my newly born nephew. And then I think just really the final thing was just Pastor John giving me a call and one day and just saying, "Wes, you're called to me on assignment. Your purpose is here in Woodbank. Your what's your place of your yes,
planted place.
Your planted place is here in Woodbank with me." And I had been experiencing that for a while. I'd been not quite able to exactly identify what exactly as clear as that, but I knew that I had this pull, And so when Pastor John, when you called me and said, I want you in Witbank, I was ready. I was ready to make that move. And it was just really amazing how there were quite a few things, there were quite a few ties that I had to Cape Town, in terms of business. You know, I was a shareholder or am a shareholder in the business. There were I had certain lease agreements and contracts that I was kind of tied to, people that I was kind of in relationship with, friends, and I had a girlfriend as well at the time, and it was just amazing how those things all kind of just worked themselves out, and God just really had his hand on all of that, and everything that would have kept me in Cape Town just dematerialized. Yeah, that's the right word. And so I ended up moving to Witbank in the end of March 2019, and started working for the church in the beginning of April. And it's, wow, what a journey it's been. It's certainly been a huge change. It's been very different to what I was doing in Cape Town. Certainly not what I thought I would be doing. And to be honest, sometimes not even stuff that I enjoy doing. Like the work, the actual physical work, I don't always particularly enjoy it. But I would rather be doing, in this period, I would rather be doing work that I enjoy less, but is hugely purposed and purposeful, because ultimately the enjoyment that I'm getting out of that is, and the value that I'm getting out of that is just so much more and better than what I was getting out of working on fun projects without purpose in Cape Town. So yeah, really it's been amazing to get to the point that I am now. I have no ties to Cape Town anymore. I'm still a shareholder in the company, and I still have a lot of friends in Cape Town that I do keep in contact with, and I do go down actually every now and then. I have for work, and I've been down for the odd wedding and that kind of thing here of close friends. But I have to say, every time I go down, I look forward to getting back to Witbank even more, just because that's home now. That is now. That's where I'm planted. It's where my church is. It's where you are, Pastor John, and it's where I feel at home spiritually. I know it's my home. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I don't know what else to say.
No, I think you've done well. I think I have a question about how did you manage the transition from Cape Town to Witbank, and what feelings and what was your experience of coming to Witbank, and how did you deal with it? It's such a vast change. What actually, how did you actually personally walk through that transition?
Yeah, so jeepers, it was a vast change from the trendy people of Cape Town to the less trendy people of Witbank. It was a big change, but honestly, it was easy. To be honest, there were challenges in natural things like that. The apartment,
and the things that actually touched you physically,
like the house I lived in.
Yeah,
I had initially the first house that I lived in was I had noisy dogs. I had a screaming baby nearby, and so that was challenging. But what made it easy was the place, the fact that I was planted, the fact that I was so connected to the church, the fact that I was working in the church every day, working with the A team, the church team, which was they're just the most amazing people. They're just super cool to work with. My spiritual growth from the moment that I actually got into the church has been exponential. From all the time that I was messing around in Cape Town doing my own thing, all of that time could have been learning and could have been growing spiritually. I definitely feel like I've made up that time by being by being planted in the church and working physically in the church. That time has definitely been redeemed. And so the transition was quite easy. I mean, I kept very focused on my work, on keeping fit and healthy. I really enjoy the running and the training elements, I definitely had to drop a few bad habits. I mean, I definitely had to get a bit more wise on how I was spending my money, and change some eating habits, because I was just ordering out and that.
There's no Uber Eats in
There's no Uber Eats in Witbank. Where I was doing Uber Eats almost every night in Cape Town, and like lacquer stuff like poke bowls and fancy pastas and all sorts. So I mean, I was eating healthy, but it was just bad habits, not wise habits. And so that kind of thing took a while to learn how to change. And obviously because I was in quite a senior position in the company in Cape Town, I was earning pretty good money, and so I was spending frivolously as well. And so that I had to learn to just good life lessons. I learned how to then become more wise in my spending. And discipline. So I think in general, like the transition, there were parts of it that were quite tough, but for the most part, I think I found it quite easy.
And we've definitely seen that acceleration with you, Wes, in terms of your spiritual growth, and it's been a beautiful thing to witness and to see. And I think the beauty of it as well is, like you were speaking about that word, and over and above that word, it was just that Pastor John had mentioned that Wes, he was speaking to Mum and Dad at that time and saying you'll have an encounter with God. And I think from discussions we've had and journeyed this path with you, we saw that started to happen in Cape Town, where you found yourself so drawn to Pastor John via YouTube, and
without even meeting him,
without even knowing, and you set up your prayer time and your quiet time there, and it was just like you were so hungry for the message, and the messages were coming, and they were speaking to your spirit. So by the time the transition and the call came, you had all that word in your heart, maybe not knowing the magnitude or the extent at which it was there, and yet it was just like, it was such a draw. You were ready to just launch and jump straight in,
And what's so interesting is when I was while I was still in Cape Town and I started putting the things of the Lord first, I thought I was making leaps and bounds in progress, and I probably was, for where I was back then. I probably was making a lot of progress. But if I look back now at the situation that I was in Cape Town, in that time I didn't realize how bad, maybe not bad, but how or lost I was, or distant that situation was from, and how far that situation was from what I should be doing, what my purpose in life is. So at that time, in that moment, and certainly when I was putting the things of God first while still living in Cape Town, I thought, sheepers, I'm doing well here, like I'm making big changes, and I've really done some drastic things, drastic decisions, and made a stand for God. But it wasn't enough. It's now looking back, have made the move, almost a year ago now, and just pressing in and being in the environment that I am in. I look back and I just see how bad that situation actually was, how lost and far I was from my purpose. And now having that connection to and knowing that, like, with such clarity what that purpose is, it's like, how was I ever functioning without it? But I guess you don't know what you don't know.
And that's why we've seen that acceleration, Wes, and particularly from the time that you've been planted, and we hear from Pastor John and Pastor Sharon and Pastor Christian, our spiritual leaders, how, and the whole thing of walking together is massive, absolutely massive. And you touch one another in physical presence, but it's having those kind of spiritual conversations and holy conversations, and just being surrounded by, and you constantly, like you said, in the environment where you're just surrounded by spiritual people, and it's staff prayer, and it's Tuesday night praise, and it's connecting with the message on a weekly basis and on a daily basis.
It's really the most amazing environment to be in. I mean, I'm really grateful. I don't take it for granted at all. Like, I know that I won't be working for the church you know, forever. And probably I'll probably always stay working for them on a level. But I know that I'm in this period now. I know that I'm in this environment now because I know that I need to learn some things to go to the next step. I know that I'm so closely connected with Pastor John because there are things there's tools that I need to learn from him, that God needs me to learn from him and to acquire from him in order to go and do the next level of my assignment and the next chapter of my assignment. And without being in the environment I'm in and without being so closely connected with Pastor John, being able to spend the time I do with him, I wouldn't be equipped to go and do what I need to do, what God needs me to do. So yeah, it's just an amazing place to be in. And even if that my involvement in the church decreases and my time around Pastor John decreases, you know, so be it. That's as long as I'm pursuing that purpose that God has, that God wants me to pursue, that's really what the most important thing is.
Doesn't change what your assignment is.
No.
With Pastor John.
No.
Yeah.
But even, you know, if for example I ended up having to be away where I'm not able to be in this amazing environment that I'm in of daily basis of staff prayer connect on a Tuesday, prayer connect or special prayer on Saturdays, you know, and being able to meet with Pastor John once or twice a week, whatever we end up doing, you know, that's even if that isn't the case and I'm not able to do that because of the assignment, because my assignment is calling me to do that, that's cool. That's
you planted and you in the flow, in alignment, in assignment.
So I think that's kind of covered all of it. That's my story. I hope it helps whoever it needs to help, and thank you, Pastor John, for being there all along the way and for asking me to do this tell my story, because it's really cool to be able to tell it. So yeah.